Welcome back to Crit and Crit. I'm Axion,
I'm Sit.
and we are continuing our discussion of Mistborn, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, and our playthrough of The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons. And it's boss time.
We used a lot of terminology last time that has no explanation unless you go into it. And with most of Sanderson's works, you really need to understand how the magic works to understand how the story works. And this is no exception. There are explained in Mistborn 2 different magic systems that both rely on metal. I say explained in because, as we will learn in later parts of the series, there is another, but we'll get into that when the series actually explains it. But those two types of magic or metallic art would be Allomancy and Ferruchemy. Most common would be Allomancy, and even that is fairly rare. RIP.
Stupid dragon. The good news is it's not going to be that hard to get back to him.
Yep. So, as mentioned, Allomancy is pretty much a hereditary ability, and therefore anyone who has it is expected to be part of a noble family, which is why there is such an intense emphasis on making sure any Ska half-breeds who have allomantic abilities are quickly suppressed before they can cause problems. So, yeah. But there is something very common to both systems, and that is a sense of balance. And Ferruchemy, it's more literal, as in, like, if Sada, for instance, spends an hour sitting at his desk so weak he can't move, that's an hour of physical strength he can call on later. With Allomancy, it's just that the metals come in pairs. While a Misting only has access to one allomantic power, there is kind of an equal and opposite for it. For example, iron lets you pull metal towards you, but there's also steel, which pushes it away from you, relative to your own weight.
And the opposite of any pulling metal, the pushing metal that it's its opposite is always an alloy of the pulling metal.
And I should note that physical strength is very much a plot point when it comes to this, because as we mentioned before in the recap, Vin is tiny. She can't really get into an open pushing fight and expect to win. Though Kelsier does note she's unusually strong when it comes to allomancy.
Guess that's all the advice we're getting for now. Oop, that's a dead end.
Yeah, there are physical and mental metals, and they are external and internal. So, as we mentioned, there's steel and iron. If you are a steel misting, you are called a coin shot because you can basically shoot coins at people. And iron misting is called a lurcher. Also, on the physical, we have pewter. That is what you are called a thug because it enhances your physical abilities. As mentioned in the story, this makes you very, very popular to hire as a guard. There's always mercenary work to be found if you're a thug, because you're just a naturally good soldier and very durable. If you burn tin, as you might expect, you're a tin eye, which increases your senses. Though, as Kelsier does show to Vin while they're training, it can be exploited. If you know somebody's burning tin, shine a bright light at them or make a loud noise. You might overwhelm them.
I've always wondered if the old pre-Google image searching site Tin Eye was named after these guys.
I don't know. When did Tin Eye come out?
You'd have to look that up since I'm playing the game. Oop, wrong button.
Launched the service on May 6, 2008. And Mistborn was first published in 2006, so, I mean, it's possible. I don't know, but the time could work. Then you have the mental metals. Zinc, you are a rioter. You inflame people's emotions, so you pick the one you want to focus on and you make them feel it more strongly. The opposite of that is brass. You are a soother. You calm down the emotions you don't want somebody to feel. You can do this either more directly or in general, which is something that the Lord Ruler has the obligators do. They'd mentioned soothing stations in the ska populations to kind of just dampen emotional extremes so nobody really worked up the courage to rebel. Then there's bronze, where you can find allomantic pulses and tell where the allomancers are working. But copper, you are a smoker and you can hide that. Those are the 8 metals that are commonly known as of Book 1, though as we learn there are others, such as gold, atium, and whatever the heck the 11th metal is, because Kelsier sure doesn't identify it.
Oop.
I mean, I know what it is, but that's a spoiler from Coppermind.
So that's everything that, at least is part of this book, that we know about Allomancy. But there is another kind of magic that we are passingly introduced to in this book. And that is Ferruchemy, right?
Yep.
Ferruchemy is more personal than Allomancy. Ferruchemy is pretty much exclusive to the terrace community, which are a group of people that formerly dwelt in the northernmost parts of the world. Oh, free money, sweet. Ah, I remember what I was supposed to do here. Bombs. And unlike, as we already described, unlike Allomancy, where metal is consumed and then burned, Ferruchemic metals are worn and then filled, then emptied. Ferruchemists store up whatever particular power they want to in their various storage devices, bits of jewelry and such that they wear. And then expend them at a later time. I presume you have the list of how all of the various different elements work for ferrochemists.
Oh yeah, I had that open because I did not want to get them confused.
I would have done the same.
And the back of Book 1 only goes into the Allomancy. They saved the Ferruchemy for a later one. And then we'll get to the other magic system that doesn't get even revealed as existing yet. But yeah, so iron stores physical weight, steel is physical speed, and we know that Saza definitely used steel because he had to hurry to get Vin medical help. Tin stores senses, and pewter is physical strength. He also used that one to get Vin out. Zinc is mental speed. Copper stores memories, hence the name of the wiki, Coppermind. Brass stores warmth, and bronze stores wakefulness. So again, limiting us largely to the metals we've seen in this book, though we have seen gold, though not from Sazed, storing health for Ferruchemy. And Atium stores youth, which is why the Lord Ruler, who is very, 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 very old, would have prized it so heavily.
And there are more secrets to be uncovered, but the first book in the story does not touch on them.
Yep.
So it would be a bit of a spoiler to reveal them now.
Yep. Which is why I was careful to limit to the ones that we actually talked about.
Yep. Or the ones that aren't that big of a spoiler, like the various properties of Ferruchemy.
Well, they're not entirely that spoilerific because, as I said, we saw Sazed use about half of them.
Yep. We didn't technically have the others, but I don't really consider it a spoiler to go ahead and discuss them like we did.
Yep.
Anything else we need to touch on while we're here?
Not that doesn't get really spoilery for future stuff, I think, because the fact that we kind of went over, like, how they tend to be used. Though one thing I will say is something that comes up in the plot itself is that Mistborn tend to kind of gloss over a lot of the metals because they're trying to do all of them. Vin kind of avoids this because Kelsier specifically outsources her training for the sake of time to other mistings. Like, she doesn't learn the emotional metals from Kelsier, she learns them from Breeze, who can only soothe and is very, very good at it. And she learns Seeking from Marsh, she gets to train a little bit with Ham for Pewter, just getting some advice and stuff. So
The
Vin
clubs
might be
and
one of
his
the
apprentices.
Yep. Vin might be one of the few Mistborn who doesn't kind of just, yeah, I can do it all, so I'm not going to specialize. But Vin is very scary.
Yep.
And that's why we love her.
Among other reasons. But yeah, even Kelsier is not really all that widespread. He tends to focus mostly on his push and pull and on burning tin and burning pewter.
Oh, one other thing to note that is kind of really important to Allomancy, at least. We'll talk about this more later, but snapping.
Ah, yes.
You don't get to be an Allomancer unless you've been through some trauma, because something about it, when you snap, you gain access to your Allomantic abilities. That's what happened to Kelsier. He was a perfectly normal narcissist, and then he watched his wife die right in front of him in the pits of passion because she didn't find the thing that they wanted her to find that week. And the trauma was too much, and he snapped, became OP as heck, and killed a whole bunch of people that day. So we'll get more into the snapping later, because there's a lot more I want to talk about with it, but I don't want to make this too much longer.
Yep. Anything else we should touch on then?
You know what kind of music they listen to on Scadrial?
What?
Heavy metal. Bye!
See y'all next time.